One player's comeback with a dislocated shoulder showed the depth of their rivalry, while another's refusal to shake hands sparked an epic post-game rant. And it's hard to believe a training camp punch could end a player's career. These are the NFL rivalries that went from intense to personal. 1. Ray Lewis versus Eddie George. The rivalry between Ray Lewis and Eddie George was raw, intense, and deeply personal. This kicked off with banter even before the games began. George taunted Lewis about his size, saying, "You're too light in the ass." Lewis fired back, warning George not to underestimate him, and he proved it in a particular playoff game in the 2000 season. In this game, Lewis intercepted a pass intended for George and returned it for a touchdown, a play that not only sealed the game for the Ravens, but also served as a pivotal moment in their rivalry. Yet George never showed any hint of backing down. Who could forget that moment when George returned to the game with a dislocated shoulder, determined not to let his team down? In an interview, he confessed, "I was willing to die on that football field that day." But their feud ended after their retirements and both became good friends. 2. Cortland Finnegan and Andre Johnson. The clash between Cortland Finnegan and Andre Johnson is one of the most unforgettable fights in NFL history. The tension between both players had been brewing for some time, with both players at the top of their game. On November 28, 2010, the rivalry reached its boiling point. Throughout the game, Finnegan was particularly aggressive towards Johnson, leading to a moment where both players' frustrations erupted. After a play, Johnson and Finnegan got into a heated exchange that quickly turned physical. Helmets flew off and punches were thrown, with Johnson landing a memorable uppercut on Finnegan. Both players were ejected from the game, and the fight led to $25,000 fines for each, but surprisingly, no suspensions. After the dust settled, both players expressed regret over the incident. Finnegan acknowledged that the fight escalated more than he wanted, while Johnson apologized, stating that what happened on the field was out of character for him. 3. Richard Sherman versus Michael Crabtree. Before we get to this moment, we need to back up a bit. Before the 2014 NFC Championship game, this beef began at a charity event. Richard Sherman offered Michael Crabtree a handshake before a charity softball game, and Crabtree refused. The two went back and forth, but Sherman never got his handshake. Now fast forward to the NFC Championship. The two collided for 60 minutes straight, and it came down to one final meeting in the end zone. Sherman made a clutch deflection while guarding Michael Crabtree, which led to a game-winning pick. Immediately after, he found Crabtree walking off and extended his hand once more. He still didn't get his handshake. Sherman's epic rant was forever immortalized. "Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're gonna get." Aaron Andrews' face still makes us laugh to this day. Let's be honest, this beef wasn't close. Sherman shut Crabtree down in the prime of their careers and then cut one of the greatest post-game interviews in sports history. But he still never got that handshake. 4. Richard Sherman and Tom Brady. It all started back in 2012 when Sherman, then a rising star with the Seattle Seahawks, decided to do what many thought unthinkable: trash talk the legendary quarterback Tom Brady during a game. During a Week 6 matchup with both teams sitting at 3-2, the stage was set for a showdown. Despite the Patriots leading by 10 points in the third quarter, Sherman boldly approached Brady during every TV timeout, telling him to keep trying him because he was ready to intercept. Brady responded by saying he'd see Sherman after the game. True to his word, Sherman made a game-changing play by intercepting a pass intended for Deion Branch and helped a Seahawks comeback to win 24-23. Sherman didn't stop there. After the game, he found Brady, trash-talked him face-to-face, and then took the rivalry to Twitter with a "You mad bro?" meme that quickly went viral. Their rivalry continued into Super Bowl 49, where Sherman and the Seahawks' formidable defense faced off against Brady's Patriots. Despite Sherman's continued trash talk and confidence, the game ended in heartbreak for Seattle with a Patriots win. In their subsequent matchups, Sherman maintained his high level of play, further cementing his reputation as one of the few players who could genuinely challenge Brady on the field. 5. Terrell Owens versus Donovan McNabb. Terrell Owens was brought to the Eagles to give Donovan McNabb a premier target at receiver. What he gave them is one of the weirdest beefs we've ever seen in the NFL. After an electric start, things went south quickly for the Eagles. Two different stories exist for why the beef started. Owens said that McNabb refused to throw to him, and when he asked why, McNabb told him to shut up. McNabb said it was about Owens having to be the central figure of everything. Despite all of that, they were able to make the Super Bowl, but fell short after a heroic effort from Owens, where he recorded 9 receptions for 122 yards just 7 weeks after breaking his leg. That offseason, Owens moved into a contract dispute with the Eagles. In an interview, when asked about why he felt he deserved a new contract, he stated, "I wasn't the one who got tired in the Super Bowl," a clear shot at McNabb, who multiple teammates have confirmed was so exhausted he puked in the huddle. McNabb told T.O. to keep his name out of his mouth. The beef appeared to be squashed leading into the next season. Owens and McNabb were connecting at a prolific rate through the first 7 games. Then, in a somewhat random interview, Terrell Owens expressed how he was upset that the Eagles didn't celebrate his 100th touchdown catch. When asked if his team would be undefeated if Brett Favre was the quarterback, Owens said, "I mean, that's a good assessment. I would agree with that." That interview came out the same week he got into a fight with teammate Hugh Douglas. The Eagles suspended T.O. and demanded he give an apology. Owens decided to leave McNabb out of his list of people he felt he needed to say sorry to. After serving his 4-game suspension, Owens came back, decided to bite his tongue, and apologized to McNabb. Donovan took it as a slap in the face, a disingenuous apology. It was the end of the T.O. era. He was terminated. McNabb did not hold back on T.O. now that he was not part of the team anymore, calling him a locker room cancer. The two, to this day, have never had anything good to say about each other. 6. Jerry Rice versus Deion Sanders. The rivalry between Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders is one for the history books. They met 10 times, turning each game into a must-watch event. One of their most memorable encounters happened on December 12, 1993. Rice grabbed 6 catches for 105 yards, but Sanders stole the show with 2 interceptions, including a crucial one right at the goal line intended for Rice. Sanders' game-winning pick with just 28 seconds left sealed the deal, a moment that undoubtedly left a mark on their storied rivalry. However, Rice had his days too, especially on October 14, 1990, when he exploded for 225 yards and 5 touchdowns. Another unforgettable moment came on November 12, 1995, when Rice, catching passes from Elvis Grbac, dominated with 161 yards and a touchdown, proving he could light up the scoreboard against anyone, including Sanders. The twist in their tale came in 1994 when they became teammates with the San Francisco 49ers. Despite their frosty relationship off the field, their combined talents were undeniable. 7. Bill Romanowski versus Marcus Williams. Bill Romanowski is known, among other things, as a steroid-fueled psychopath and one of the most dirty players in NFL history. While normally he was hated by his opponents, it's only right that he pissed off his fair share of teammates too, namely Marcus Williams. In the middle of the training camp heat, Raiders backup tight end Marcus Williams was tasked with blocking Romanowski. He successfully did so, driving Bill to the sideline, allowing the runner to cut off field. Assuming the worst, which you can always do with Romanowski, he was mad because of how bad he was manhandled. In retaliation, he grabbed Williams' face mask, violently yanking it until his helmet flew off, then decked him in the face. The punch broke Williams' eye socket, knocked him unconscious, and broke multiple teeth. Romanowski stood over him as he regained consciousness, shouting, "Don't ever effing hold me," before walking off. That punch ended Williams' career. He was sent to the hospital immediately, and not long after, he sued Romanowski over damages. 8. Joe Montana versus Steve Young. Montana and Young are both Hall of Famers and led the 49ers through their greatest years in franchise history. But between all those glory years is one of the most intense feuds ever. Steve Young arrived in San Francisco in 1987 as a cast-out QB, while Joe Montana had already won 2 championships with the Niners. However, Bill Walsh secretly told Young that he would be their QB in the future. Montana started the entire 1988 season, but when the playoffs rolled around, the Niners were getting their teeth kicked in by the Vikings. Walsh surprised everybody by benching Montana for Young, creating a firestorm. Walsh even considered trading Montana that offseason before deciding to intentionally pit the two against each other the next season. After a horrible start where the two QBs alternated, they chose to stick with Montana, who showed why he was the GOAT at the time. 2 Super Bowls later, and not much controversy, Montana was the guy. That is until 1991. Montana suffered a bad elbow injury that inserted Young as the starter, and he quickly became one of the game's elite. Young won MVP in 1992. Finally, the ultimatum. Who was it going to be, Young or Montana? Bill Walsh was no longer the head coach, and the new head coach, George Seifert, wanted Montana. The players were split, and fans had no idea what they wanted. Steve Young just wanted it to end. One of them had to go. Niners fans were completely pissed. Young had just signed a huge deal, and now he was in trade talks. How does a team with 4 Super Bowl wins go through all this? It all came to an end in one swoop. Montana was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was so bad that Niners fans cheered when Montana scored in their reunion game.